So we are covering life and teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I think this is our third day, and today mostly we will complete. We had total about 100 slides. Out of that, we have completed about 70 slides. So another 30 slides in two sessions with the break in between. I think we can complete today. And we have covered starting from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, his pastimes in Mayapur, Navadvip, then his taking of sannyas, and after that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming to Jagannath Puri and delivering Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Then after that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desires to go on a South Indian tour to search for his brother Vishwarupa. And on the way, he visits many places. There also he delivers many people, makes them into devotees. The first meeting takes place between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramanandaya, who is already exalted devotee of the highest order. So we were discussing that section, and in the last classes we saw right. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts asking Ramanandaya, what is the highest thing? Then Ramanandaya goes on answering. And first he tells that one has to follow the Varnashrama Dharma. We saw it in the last session. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is external. Tell me something more than Varnashrama. So we'll continue from that point onwards. The highest perfection of life is to get detached from the material attachment and proportionately realize the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So I think we discussed in our last class also, what is this material detachment? So material detachment does not mean that we have to get detached from any persons or objects, because everything belongs to Krishna. So what we have to detach is our tendency to lord over or tendency to enjoy different objects or the living entity. So that is the real detachment as taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and also the Goswamis. प्रापंचिकतया बुद्ध्या हरिसंबंधी वस्तुनः मुमुक्षुभिः परित्यागो फल्गु वैराग्यम् उच्यते. So the renunciation of those who are after liberation, mumukshuvihi, so they want mukti, and they think that prapanchikataya buddhya, thinking that all these worldly things, they are all material, prapanchikataya buddhya, but actually they are hari sambandhi vastu. They all belong to Krishna. They are all connected with Krishna. But one class of transcendentalists, they think that all these things are material, so therefore I will give up all these things. So such renunciation is called Falgu Vairagya. So this word Falgu, Prabhupada explains, there is one river called Falgu, Falgu river. And that river is full sand. You see the river, it is just sand. And if you put your hand then you will see there is water. So this Phalgu Vairagya means externally they are renounced, but still they have not given up the material desire. The final desire is to get liberated. Mukti is also one desire. That is also kama. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami. Three kinds of kamas. One is Bhukti Kami, sense enjoyment. That is karmis. Then Mukti Kami, Dhyanis, and Siddhi Kamis. They are yogis. So all these are desires for me. And that kind of vairagya is called Phalgu Vairagya. And the principle, real principles to be followed is Yukta Vairagya. Means everything is in connection with Krishna. Yatha arham upayujataha. Anasaktasya vishayan. One should not be attached to the sense objects. Vishaya means sense objects. Anasakta means no attachment for the objects of the senses. But yatha arham upayujataha. As much as is required, that much only one should utilize anything. Such renunciation is called Yukta Vairagya. Anasaktasya vishaya yatha arham upayujataha. Third line. Just forgetting. Yukta Vairagya. So that principle is called Yukta Vairagya. So the real principle to be followed is Yukta Vairagya. Seeing everything in connection with Krishna and using only as much as is required and everything else engaging in Krishna's service. That is real detachment. And to the proportion we are developing this kind of detachment, means using as much as is required and engaging everything in Krishna's service, proportionately we can realize the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So how much this I am detached from material things, that much my attachment for Krishna we can experience. So it's all proportional. If this reduces, this will increase. If one doesn't reduce, other will not. The personality of Godhead recognizes a living being who is progressing in that line. Somebody who is progressing in this detachment, Yukta Vairagya. So Krishna recognizes such living entity according to the proportion of the detachment of that living entity. And this is called, this principle is followed in devotional service, not in by karmis, not by jnanis, or not by yogis, or not by atheists. This principle is followed by devotees only. So therefore, devotional service is the culmination of the culture of all knowledge. So all knowledge ultimately culminates into devotional service only. So knowledge means to know things as they are. So what is the real knowledge? Real knowledge is who am I, who is God, and what is my relationship with God. This is knowledge. And when one comes to this understanding, who am I, who is God, what is my relationship with God, then ultimately one has to surrender to Krishna. So real knowledge means to know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, source of everything, Sarva Karana Karana. And our position is Jiva Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. Or as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Sanatana. So our position is that we are eternally related with Krishna. We belong to Krishna, Krishna belongs to us. That is our relationship. And based on that relationship, there are activities. There is exchange of dealings, exchange of prasad, based on the relationship of living entity and Krishna. And the happiness and bliss we experience in this exchange, that is the prayojana, sambandha abhideya prayojana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu summarized the entire Vedas as sambandha, abhideya, and prayojana. So what is the sambandha? What is my relationship with Krishna? And abhideya is what I am supposed to do based on that relationship. And prayojana is what is that I derive from that. So that is the exchange of rasa and experience of bliss. That is the prayojana, because ultimately all living entities, they are hankering after this ananda, or blissful experience. Everybody is searching after that, either in the material world or in the spiritual world. But in the material world, it is running after false things and false experience of this bliss. But in the spiritual world, that is eternal and it is real and permanent. Here it is all flickering, temporary. So the culmination of all knowledge, when we know things as they are, it ultimately culminates into devotional service. Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Am Tapate. So one who has actually come to the point of real knowledge, ultimately he surrenders to Krishna. When Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared on the deliverance of all fallen souls, he advised the deliverance of all living entities as follows. Supreme, absolute personality of Godhead, from whom all living entities have emanated, must be worshipped by all their respective engagement. Because everything that we see is also the expansion of his energy. So by all our engagements, by all our activities, see the soul is never inactive. Always we are doing something. Either our gross body is active or our subtle body is active. The soul exists in three states. One is Jagrata Avastha, another is Swapna Avastha, another is Supta Avastha. So that Supta Avastha is Pralaya, after the dissolution, when the living entities enter into the body of Mahavishnu. That is called Supta Avastha. And when the creation happens and living entities again get material bodies, so that is called Jagrata Avastha. And sometimes when we sleep, we dream also. That is called Swapna Avastha. And if you see from the transcendental plane, then real wakeful state is in the spiritual world. Real wakeful state is in the spiritual world. And in the material world, the state is like dream. Because in dream, we create multiple identities. I think I am king. I think I have become something other than my real identity. In dream, I can create so many identities. My mind can create so many identities. So the real wakeful state means I know who am I, what is this world. I know real people, real relationship. Everything is real when I'm awake. When I'm dreaming, although it appears like the experience is like real, but nothing is real in dream. Experience is real, but none of the objects, none of the personalities, nothing is real. It all comes, and once the dream is broken, everything is gone. So, from spiritual plane, if we see, spiritual existence is our wakeful state. And this material existence is like a dreamy state. The soul is there, but now it has got one identity for some X number of years. I'm a male, I'm a female, I'm born in this country, I'm having these responsibilities. So all this is happening. If you look from the spiritual point of view, whatever is happening here, it is all dream. Sometimes we do daydream also, no? Daydreaming. We are sitting, we are awake, but we are just dreaming something. It's called daydreaming. So Prabhupada says this is daydream, and night time when we are sleeping, it is in the dream in the night. So this is also dream. So from the spiritual point of view, we see spiritual world, we are awake in the spiritual world. In the material world, we are in the state of dream. But that dream may be very long. We are inside the dream. And in between, now when we come to Krishna consciousness, it is like in between we wake up. Sometimes while sleeping also, the dream, sometimes we wake up. I know that I am dreaming. Then again we will sleep. Again, sometimes dream continues also. Sometimes same dream will continue. We'll be dreaming. In between, I will come to know that I am dreaming. Then again, I fall asleep and the dream continues. So when we come into Krishna consciousness, it is like we are in between, fluctuating between waking, dreaming, waking, dreaming, waking, dreaming. So waking, dreaming, that dreaming state is again when we go into Maya. Again, we are away from Krishna consciousness. That is again, I woke up a little bit, I came to know that I am dreaming. And then again, I sleep, again my dream continues. So we are in Krishna consciousness, but sometimes again we forget Krishna consciously, unconsciously. So it's like we are awake, dream, awake, dream. When we are 100% Krishna conscious, then we are fully awake. And that is the state of the pure devotee. He never goes back again into dream. He is always awake. And that's why it is said the pure devotees, they never forget Krishna. Even when they come to this material world, they never forget Krishna. Just like Prabhupada tells, from my birth, he was Krishna conscious. So, Nitya Siddha living entities, they never get an opportunity to forget Krishna. So, from Krishna, everybody is emanating. And we are always active. The soul is always active. And by all our activities, Krishna must be worshipped. Because everything that we see is also the expansion of his energy. So this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling, he advised the deliverance of all living entities as follows, that by our activities, one should worship Krishna. That is the way of real perfection, and it is approved by all bona fide acharyas, past and present. And that is the principle which is given in the Bhagavatam. Swakarvana tam abhyarcha siddhim viddanti manava. Means by our own action, Swakarvana tam abhyarcha, by worshipping Krishna, siddhim viddanti manava, one can attain perfection. And the Bhagavatam also says, Varnashram acharavata purushena paraha Vishnu aradhyate nanyat tattosha karan. The only purpose of Varnashrama is Vishnu aradhyate. One has to worship Vishnu. There is no other purpose. But if you forget Varnashrama, that Vishnu is the center in Varnashrama, then it becomes just like some moral or ethical principles. Now also, modern society, they want a good society. There should be good people, no thieves, no criminals. They want one ideal society. And everything should go on nicely, progressive. Everybody should have sufficient resources, money, whatever facilities. So they are looking for one ideal society. But it is only based on the moral and ethical principles. Without Krishna in the center, in the Varnashrama, there may be all perfectly matching working class, business class perfectly. Now it is not perfect. All mixed up. According to Guna, people may not be engaged at the present moment. Even if somebody engages everybody according to their Guna in respective classification, and say somebody who is intellectuals, they are teaching, somebody who is heroic, they are fighting, somebody who is resourceful, and somebody is doing business, and somebody who cannot do all those things, they are doing simple work. Even if all this perfectly organized also, if say Krishna is not in the center, then it just becomes some moral principle, some ethical principle. Still people cannot be happy. There is very little realization of the transcendence as such. And Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected it as superficial. So sometimes Varnashrama can also become just a ethical or moral principles. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected just following of Varnashrama. That is not the highest thing, it is superficial. and asked Ramananda Raya to go further into the matter. Then Ramananda Raya says, he suggests renunciation of fruitive action unto the Lord. So the next proposal Ramananda Raya says, uh, higher than Varnashrama is one has to renounce the fruits of action as given in the Bhagavad Gita 9.27, Yat Karoshi Yadashnasi Tadas Yat Tapasyasi Kaunteya Tat Kurushva Madarpana. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give, as well as whatever you perform in penance, offer to me alone. This dedication on the part of the worker suggests that the personality of Godhead is a step higher than the impersonal conception of the Varnashrama system. But still, the relation of the living being and the Lord is not distinct in that way. The Lord therefore rejected this proposition and asked Ramananda Raya to go further. So here also, the distinct relation between living entity and the Supreme Lord is not fully established. So this also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this is also superficial, and he asked him to go further. Ramananda Raya then suggested renunciation of the Varnashrama Dharma and acceptance of devotional service. Lord did not approve of this suggestion also for the reason that all of a sudden one should not renounce his position. So next he says one has to give up all kinds of activities. So previously it was Varnashrama, then he said whatever is being done, it should be offered to Krishna. Still one will be engaged in different duties as whatever the social order is there, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Varna, Grasta. That also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that is also not the highest. Tell me further. Then he says one has to accept sannyasa. And that also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling that is also not the highest. And for that reason given by his Lord Chaitanya is all of a sudden one should not renounce his position. One cannot all of a sudden give up everything and say that I am now going to accept sannyas. In Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna tells the same thing, that unless the heart is purified, if one takes renunciation, then it becomes very troublesome. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptum ayogataha. Ayogataha means if one is not fully connected with Krishna and he takes up sannyas, then it will only cause trouble to him. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptum ayogataha. Unless one has developed his attachment for Krishna, he superficially or artificially gives up everything and decides to take sannyasa, then it will simply create disturbance in the society. Because externally, he may be wearing a sannyasi's dress, but his heart is not pure. Still, material desires are there. Sometimes such people, in the name of sannyasa and spiritual organization, sometimes they also cheat people. And a lot of cheaters, fake gurus come out. It was further suggested by Raya that attainment of spiritual realization, freed from the material conception of life, is the topmost achievement for a living being. The Lord rejected this suggestion also because, on the plea of such spiritual realization, much havoc has been wrought by unscrupulous persons. Many people start cheating people, so-called swamis, yogis, spiritual gurus, claiming that they are spiritually realized, highly realized, they are getting some siddhi, some powers, and they start cheating people. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejecting all these things. Finally, he wants to come to something which is something which everyone can easily follow. And that he concludes as the ultimate purpose of human life. And that he says as the highest thing. Then for all of a sudden, this is not possible, this also. Then finally, Ramananda Raya says that sincere association of self-realized souls and hearing submissively the transcendental message of the pastimes of the personality of God. This suggestion was welcomed by the Lord. So what finally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approves that what a person is supposed to do. He started with Varnashrama Dharma, then offering your result of your work to the Lord, then giving up all the material engagements, accepting sannyas, or some spiritual realization. So Ramananda told all these things, but all of them Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, no, this is not the thing, this is not the thing, this is not the thing. When he says that one should associate with self-realized souls and submissively hear from them transcendental message of the personality of God. So this was approved by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That if somebody follows this, then that is the highest thing. And the basis of that was also on Srimad Bhagavatam. Sthane sthita shrutigata jnane prayasam udapasya namantra eva jivanti satmukharitam avadiya vartam sthane sthita shrutigata tanuvan manobhe yah prayasho ajita jitoki asitrais thilokyam. So that is the prayer offered by Brahma after Brahma Vimohan Leela. Brahma had stolen all the cowherd boys and calves, and when he himself gets bewildered, and he comes and begs forgiveness and offers prayers to Krishna. That time he tells that you are Ajita, you are unconquerable, but you get conquered by these people. Who are that? Jnane prayasam udapasya means who give up this mental speculation. Jnane prayasam, these impersonalists. So giving up that tendency of trying to understand things on our own. By our own strength of knowledge, I will understand this. So jnane prayasa udapasya. Namanta eva means one should become submissive and humble, humility. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has stressed on this one quality very much, being weak and humble. Shikshastra also, one of the prayers talks about this thing only. Amanina manadena kirtanya radhari. So opposite of that is pride. No, believing in one's own abilities. That is pride. No, I have got this ability, these possessions, and by that I will be successful in life, materially or spiritually, both. So that is pride. Humility is knowing one's real position as a humble servant of Krishna and completely dependent on Krishna's mercy for everything. For everything, I am dependent on Krishna's mercy for my own personal maintenance, my knowledge, my happiness. So everything completely dependent on Krishna, and that is the reality also. That is the fact. The living entity does not possess anything. Everything is given by Krishna, mercifully given by Krishna. So when one understands one real position, then naturally one becomes meek and humble. So jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva jivanti satmukharitam vadiya vartam. So one who is hearing about your news, varta means news. So we are fond of hearing news. What is happening there? What is happening here? So one has to hear about Krishna's news from the mouth of pure devotees. And that is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna personally speaking. In Srimad Bhagavatam, all the pure devotees, they are talking about Krishna, their pastimes are there. Then what happens? Yaha prayashaha ajita jitopi asitrais idam. Gradually, almost Krishna becomes conquered by such devotee. When Ramananda Raya told this, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approved, yes, this is the highest thing one should follow. And for doing this, one need not give up his position. One need not accept sannyas. One need not falsely claim that I am so self-realized or highly elevated. All these things are not it. Here the criteria is one has to be meek and humble. All other things are not required. Just one has to be meek and humble wherever you are, be in that place. But hear about Krishna from the mouth of self-realized pure devotees. If you see what Prabhupada has given us, the system is same thing. We can be engaged in whatever work we are doing. We don't have to give up our jobs. We don't have to give up our families. We don't have to give up our society. We can remain wherever we are. But we have to hear from the mouth of self-realized souls, pure devotee. We have to hear from Prabhupada and follow his instructions. If we just live like that, if we pass our days in this state, then one day Krishna gets conquered by us. Ajita Jitopi Asita Istrilokya. Krishna is unconquerable. But Krishna gets conquered by such devotees. And there are many examples, like history also, the Pandavas are best examples. And all the Brajavasis, all the Dwarkavasis, all the associates of Krishna, they were all doing their own activities. But Krishna was conquered by them. About the Pandavas, it is said, no, Krishna became like Sarathya, Parashada, Sevana, Sakhya, Dautya, Virasana, Nagamana, Savana Pranama, Snigdeshu Pandasu, Jagat Pranatim Cha Vishnu. So Krishna became for Pandavas, he became a Sarathi, he became their Parshad. Parshad means he became no, their one of member of their council or something. He served them so many ways. When the Pandavas, that kingdom, what was that kingdom? They were given some kingdom, no, some forest land they were given, they converted it into Indraprastha. So when that ceremony was there, Krishna was no, receiving all the guests, washing their feet. So he served them in so many ways. And sometimes he became a night watchman for the Pandavas. And he followed them. And he used to offer prayers and obeisances to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He was his kind of elder brother. So the Supreme Lord, no, he played so many kind of these menial roles for the Pandavas. So practically he was conquered by their love and affection, their devotional service. So that position can be attained by anybody who follows this principle. Remaining meek and humble, hearing from the mouth of pure devotees. That position can be attained by all of us. And we have great Acharya's example also. Sanatana Goswami, he used to hang the deity on the tree. And the deity will ask, only you are giving me dry chapati, put some salt. Sanatana Goswami say, I am sannyasi, from where I can bring and cook. Today you are asking salt, tomorrow you will ask something more. Be satisfied with whatever is available. So, those who reach by following this process, the stage of pure devotion, Krishna gets conquered by his pure devotees. And in the case of gopis, Krishna said that I cannot repay the service what you have rendered me. I cannot repay. So God becomes helpless. And he says, you be satisfied with your devotional service. I cannot repay your service. So Krishna, although he is the controller, Ishvara, Parama Krishna, but he comes under the control of his devotees. We also see in the pastime of Mother Yashoda also, Damodar Leela. So there also Krishna is bound by ropes by Mother Yashoda. So those who follow this principle of being humble and associating with pure devotees, serving the pure devotees, that is also very, very important. Then one can conquer Krishna. This suggestion was welcomed by the Lord. was in reference of Brahma's prayer, who said that the personality of God is known as Ajita, or one who cannot be conquered or approached by anyone. But such Ajita also becomes Chita or conquered by one method, which is very simple and easy. The simple method is that one has to give up the arrogant attitude of declaring oneself to be God himself. One must be very meek and submissive and try to live peacefully by lending the ear to the speeches of the transcendently self-realized soul, who speaks on the message of the Bhagavata Dharma, or the religion of glorifying Supreme Lord and his devotees. To glorify a great man is a natural instinct for living beings. So, living entities, they have a natural instinct. So, natural instinct means we don't have to do anything to do that. It comes naturally. What is that? To glorify a great man. When we see somebody very great, naturally we glorify such person. Oh, he's such a rich man. Oh, he's such a successful. Oh, this person is so learned. And we see it is a natural instinct for the living entity to glorify a great man. But they have not learned to glorify the Lord because they don't know the glories of the Lord. Therefore, they have forgotten glorifying the Lord. So, as soon as they hear from the mouth of pure devotees and understand the glories of the Lord, then automatically they will start glorifying Krishna. Perfection of life is attained simply by glorifying the Lord in association with the self-realized devotee of the Lord. The self-realized devotee is he who surrenders unto the Lord fully and who does not have attachment for material prosperity. Material prosperity and sense enjoyment and their advancement are all activities of ignorance in human society. So the more we are trying for material prosperity and sense enjoyment, that means we are in ignorance. Peace and friendship are impossible for a society detached from the association of God and his devotees. So if the society is detached from God and his pure devotees, then that society, there cannot be any peace or friendly relationships. Because everybody will be self-centered. So always there will be competition, jealousy, envy, and exploitation. All those things will be there. God is not in the center. So there cannot be any peace or friendly relationship in society or in any relationship anywhere. If God is not in the center, then these things are impossible. Artificially, it may be there for some time, but very soon again they will come to their original color. So only peace is possible when we make Krishna as the center. It is imperative, therefore, that one sincerely seek the association of pure devotees and hear them patiently and submissively from any position of life. It doesn't matter what is the position of our life, but we have to hear from the mouth of pure devotees. Now, reading is also hearing only. When we read books, we are hearing from Prabhupada. So, reading is also very important. Every day we should spend time to read books, what Prabhupada has written, what is there in Bhagavatam. And we should try to absorb the mood of the devotees, how they are having, what kind of feelings they have towards Krishna, what is their attitude, what is their mentality, what are their qualities. When we read the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, one is we get the instructions of the Lord in those prayers. Just like Bhagavad Gita, we see a lot of instructions by Krishna. We also see Arjuna's mood also. We see Arjuna's qualities also. So we should try to absorb all these things. We should try to follow in the footsteps of Arjuna. And we should try to follow the instruction of Krishna. When we read, we should try to follow their instructions and we should try to follow the mood of the devotees. Even in Bhagavatam, there are a lot of prayers by different devotees. First canto itself, so many prayers are there. Buddhimarana prayers, Bhishma's prayers, Arjuna's prayers. So many prayers are there. When we read that, we can understand the mood of these devotees. What is their consciousness? How do they think? What kind of feelings they have towards Krishna? And we can try to absorb those things and try to follow in their footsteps. Because by association only we can purify. By association of devotees only, our all these bad qualities, what we have acquired by wrong association, that can go by good association. So reading means we are associating with Krishna. We are associating with Krishna's pure devotees. It is as if we are in that situation where the things are described. And we can get those vibrations of those devotees who are offering those prayers in different situations, how they are glorifying Krishna. So it's very important. We should regularly read. And ultimately, that is what the highest thing what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that one has to become big and humble and hear from pure devotees. That means now how will we hear from pure devotees? They have written the books, they have left behind what all they have to say. They have given, Vyasdeva has compiled everything in the form of Bhagavatam. And Acharya has given the commentaries. Prabhupada has translated it into language which we can understand. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told as the highest thing, how can I practice? If I regularly read, then I am practicing what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is told as the highest thing by which Krishna gets conquered. By following. So regularly we should read Prabhupada's books and try to follow his instructions, what Prabhupada has told. So one need not hamper one's position. One need not give up one's position. The only thing one has to do is to hear from a self-realized soul with a routine program. So it has to become our daily routine. Routine means something which you do every day. So we have to make this hearing from pure devotee as our everyday routine activity. Every day we should spend time listening to Prabhupada. The teacher may also deliver lectures from the Vedic literatures, following in the footsteps of the bygone acharyas who realized the absolute truth. And whatever we hear, we can also tell others. Whatever we have understood about Krishna, same thing we can repeat to others. Whatever I have understood. If I understood only this much, I can tell only that much. It's not that I have to learn everything, become perfect, then only you speak to others. Whatever I have understood, that much I can tell, but I have to tell as it is without any adding my own masala or my own concoctions. I can tell in my own way, but the truth must be same, what is told in the scriptures. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended this simple method for self-realization, generally known as Bhagavata Dharma. This is known as Bhagavata Dharma. So Bhagavata Dharma is Shravanam and Kirtanam. That is Bhagavata Vidhi. Bhagavata Vidhi means just hearing and talking about Krishna. So talking or describing Krishna is glorification. That is Kirtana. That is glorifying Krishna. And hearing means knowing about Krishna. If somebody is glorifying, we are appreciating. We are hearing that, listening that, and appreciating the glories of Krishna. So Bhagavata Dharma is Shravana Kirtana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended this as the highest thing. And by practicing this, one can attain perfection and Krishna can get conquered. Srimad Bhagavatam is the perfect guide for this purpose. So if one has to practice this, then Srimad Bhagavatam is the perfect guide. That means every day we should do Srimad Bhagavatam, reading, studying, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. At the conclusion of this meeting, Sri Ramananda Raya was advised by the Lord to retire from service. So they discussed some more things also. And after that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he tells Ramananda Raya that you retire from your service and come to Jagannath Puri, so that they could live together and relation, transcendental relationship. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu moves on. He goes to the other places in South India. And after some time, Ramananda Raya, he retires from the government service and he gets pension from the king. And then he returns to Jagannath Puri. That was his native. So he belonged to Jagannath Puri. On service, he had gone to this place. And after meeting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he takes retirement and he comes back to Jagannath Puri. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu moves further in different parts of South India. There's description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going to different places: Tirupati, Ahobilam, Srirangam, then Rameshwaram, Udupi, like that many places Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes. Then he goes up to Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, he goes to Pandharpur and Kolhapur. So in Pandharpur, he meets Saint Tukaram and he initiates him. And after initiation, Tukaram overflooded the whole of Maharashtra province with the Sankirtana movement. You see, there also, Santa Tukaram, their followers, they also do a lot of Kirtan, glorification of the Lord. And the transcendental flow is still rolling on the southern west, the southwestern part of the great Indian peninsula. So still now, that culture is there. Many people, the followers of Tukaram, they are called Varkaris, and they go on with kirtans or Pandharpur. They travel long distance walking and go to Pandharpur. Especially the Ashadha Ekadashi is very famous there, and on that Ekadashi, all followers, many people, they go to Pandharpur. And they also sing nice kirtans and bhajans called abhangas, called abhanga. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also excavated two very important literature from South India when he was traveling. He found these two books. One is Brahma Samhita, another is Krishna Karna. Krishna Karnamrita is written by Bilva Mangal Thakur. And Brahma Samhita, it is part of the Vedas. In the Vedas, there are many Samhitas. Part of the Vedas, many Samhitas are there. Out of that, one Samhita is this Brahma Samhita. And these two valuable books are authorized studies for the person in the devotional life. So Brahma Samhita, it includes all the conclusions of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam in a concise form. Brahma Samhita contains everything that the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is summarized very nicely in the condensed form in Brahma Samhita. Position of Krishna, spiritual world, position of different demigods, position of Lord Shiva, who is Vishnu. And it also talks about the last shlokas, what we chant. Generally, we chant Brahma's prayers, Ishvara Parama Krishna, from that to some concluding. After that also, there are some shlokas. The English version translated by Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That is available. If you read the last portions, there it is told about devotional service, what we follow, regulated devotional service. All these things are nicely described. So Brahma Samhita. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu copied these two books and he brought it along with him to give it to his devotees in Puri. So he goes to different places and then finally he returns to Jagannath Puri after the South Indian. On his return to Puri, all the anxious devotees of the Lord got back their line. So this went on for almost 6 years. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled almost for 6 years. And after 6 years, he came back. So he had gone 6 years Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not there. And no phones, no WhatsApp, no video calling. The 6 years they have to just keep thinking of the Lord. When he will come also don't know. When he will return, there is no date also. No, on this day I will come back. They don't know when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to come back. So after 6 years, when finally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back, so they all got back their life. Means they were living like dead people all these years. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, so they got back their life. And after that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained there and continued pastimes of his transcendental realizations. After that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Vrindavan. One time he plans to go to Vrindavan, but he goes from West Bengal and he goes up to a certain point, then he returns back. He goes up to Ramakeli in West Bengal. I think it's known West Bengal or Bangladesh, not exactly remembering, because that time it was all one. And there he meets Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, who were that time ministers in that Bengal, that time's king, Nawab Hussain Shah. So he meets them and then he returns. And after that, he goes to Vrindavan again. He was planning to go there, but he returns from there, doesn't go further. And then he goes, this time he goes from Jharkhand route. From Jharkhand, then Uttar Pradesh, he goes to Vrindavan. That time he goes to Varanasi, he goes to Prayag, then he goes to Mathura, then he goes to Vrindavan. Then again, while returning, he comes by the same route. So when he went towards Bengal, he met Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, came back. Then he goes to this route. By that time, they give up their service. Rupa Goswami, he takes retirement and he comes and he meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Prayagraj. While Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going, he meets them and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs him for I think 12 days or something. And he goes to Vrindavan. Then from there, while returning, Sanatana Goswami was still serving. Then he also decides to retire. Then the king will not allow him and he will put him in jail. And somehow he escapes from the jail. And then he comes and he meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was returning from Vrindavan and he was staying at Varanasi. So that time, Sanatana Goswami meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in both the meetings, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs them, just like there are teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sarvam Bhattacharya, then to Ramanandaraya. The same way, there are teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami, then Sanatana Goswami. And after that, he comes and then he stays in Jagannath Puri itself till his final days. The most important incident during that time was his granting audience to the king Prataprutra. Okay, I think we can take a break. After the break, we'll continue. Snack has come. Any questions so far, whatever we have discussed? Please sit. Yeah, both are. You can read. You can complete one book. Prabhupada generally told, if you are reading one book, you finish it and then go to the next book. Suppose we are reading something, we can finish that, then take up the next book. The Bhagavad Gita is never over. Suppose you finished one reading, okay. After 1 year, you read Bhagavad Gita. This time again, you will find that you understood it better. You had more realizations. And after 3 years, you read again you will feel that, oh, now I understood it better. After 10 years, you read. Again, you will feel that now I. Those who distribute the message and the pastimes of Krishna, Tavakathamritam Tapta Jivanam, Kavibhiriditam Kalmashav, Shavanamangalam Srimadatam. So there is description of what is Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha, that is Tavakatha, it is like nectar, it is Amrita. Tavakathamritam and Tapta Jivanam for the living entities who are burning in this material world. So it can, can relieve them from all those burning in this material world. And Kavibhiriditam, so it is sung by Kavis, the great devotees who are poetic. So they describe Krishna's glories. And Srimadatam, so it brings all auspiciousness. And Shavana Mangala, simply by hearing, it brings auspiciousness. And so this is all glories of Krishna Katha. And one who distribute this Krishna Katha, they are the most beneficent, most merciful persons. These are all the glories of Krishna's Katha, Krishna's pastime. So it can save people from this material existence. And this Krishna is glorified by choice poetry, by exalted deities. It brings all auspiciousness. And the person who is distributing this Krishna Katha, he is the most magnanimous person. Puridajana. This was the prayer offered by Gopis, one of the slokas in Gopi Gita. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hears this, Pratapruta the king as an ordinary man, when he hears this, he is not in the external consciousness. But when he heard this, then he immediately embraces him and he starts loudly shouting, Puridajana, Puridajana. Means such souls are very, very magnanimous souls, very magnanimous souls. So like that, he embraces Pratapruta. And although he knew that he is king, but by mercy of his other devotees, he gave him the opportunity to meet him and he also embraced him personally. And so that's how he meets. Before that also, there is a long, I think one whole chapter is there about this. Chaitanya Charitamrita. As long as the Lord remained at Puri, thousands of his devotees used to come to see him during the Rath Yatra festival of Lord Jagannath. So it was an every year practice for devotees to come from West Bengal, Mayapur, Navadvip to Jagannath Puri for Rath Yatra. Every year they used to come for Rath Yatra, and after Rath Yatra they will stay for 4 months in Jagannath Puri because Chaturmasya period will be there, rainy season. For the entire 4 months they will stay with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and perform kirtan and all these activities. After 4 months they will go away. So it was there every year their practice. And washing the Gundicha temple, that was also one important function Chaitanya Mahaprabhu observed. There is also very nice description that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally was cleaning the temple, proving the temple. He showed that how much is important. Cleanliness. Cleanliness, Prabhupada said, next to godliness. How important it is to clean. And the more somebody cleaned the dirt, the more he accumulated dirt, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to appreciate that person. Somebody who has cleaned more, and used to appreciate. And the more we clean Krishna's temple, Krishna's paraphernalia, the more our heart becomes clean. The more we clean Krishna's temple, Krishna's paraphernalia, the more our heart becomes cleansed. So all these things Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. There is nice description about this also. Chaitanya Charitamrita, different pastimes during that. The Lord's congregational Sankirtan movement at Puri was a unique exhibition for the mass of people. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started this Sankirtana, which he was doing in Mayapur, Navadvip. When he came to Puri, he was doing this Sankirtana there also. It was all started by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only, Sankirtana movement. And it was a wonderful exhibition, especially during Rath Yatra. lot of people come and gather from so much surrounding and distant places or Jagannath Rath Yatra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sankirtan was a unique exhibition for the mass of people. And here Prabhupada mentioned that is the way to turn the mass mind towards spiritual realization. So the Sankirtana can turn people's mind towards spiritual realization. So we should do Kirtan at our homes and we should also try to go out and do Kirtan. That is Yuga Dharma. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has inaugurated the Sankirtana. And if we go and do Sankirtana outside, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be very pleased. And people also will get an opportunity to hear the Hare Krishna. Otherwise, people are busy in their own world. Many people, they would not have come to temple ISKCON in Bangalore. So many people might be there who have never come to ISKCON. So they have not had darshan of the Lord. They would not have heard the Hare Krishna. So if we go out and chant, then people also get an opportunity to hear this Hare Krishna. The Lord inaugurated the system of mass Sankirtan. And leaders of all countries can take advantage of this spiritual movement in order to keep the mass of people in a pure state of peace and friendship with one another. So if people take to this Sankirtana, then there can be peace and friendship. So Prabhupada is appealing to the leaders of all countries because leaders means they're always thinking of peace, prosperity in the society. Somebody just takes to this Sankirtana movement, congregational chanting, then automatically all the peace and prosperity can come in the society. This is now the demand of the present human society all over the world. So after some time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts to northern India, going to Vrindavan, and he decided to visit Vrindavan and its neighboring places. And he passed through the jungles of Jharkhand. Before that, he goes towards Bengal. That is not mentioned here. So he goes to Bengal and meets Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, then returns. And then again, he plans to go to Vrindavan. And while going to Vrindavan also, he performed many pastimes. One was in the Jharkhand forest, where even the wild animals, they also joined him in doing some Kirtana, and they all welcomed him like how the animals in Vrindavan used to welcome Krishna, the deers, peacocks, so all they approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cows, and they started licking the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All those descriptions are there. The wild tigers, elephants, bears, and deer all together accompanied the Lord, and the Lord accompanied them in Sankirtana. By this, he proved that by the propagation of Sankirtana movement, congregational chanting and glorifying the name of the Lord, even the wild animals can live in peace and friendship. What to speak of human beings? Even the wild animals, they can also live in peace and friendship. What to speak of men who are supposed to be civilized? No man in the world will refuse to join the Sankirtana movement. Nor is the Lord's Sankirtana movement restricted to any caste, creed, color, or species. Here is direct evidence of his great mission. He allowed even the wild animals to partake in his great movement. Prabhupada also says in the purport of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, even the child can take part in it, or even the dog can take part. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Vrindavan, there also nice pastimes are there. And after that, when he was returning, on his way back from Vrindavan, he first came to Prayag, where he met Rupa Goswami along with his younger brother Anupama. So Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they had another brother called Anupama. And he passes away when he was returning from Vrindavan. And his son was Jiva Goswami. So he was nephew of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana, their brother's son. So he also becomes one of the Goswamis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to Banaras. And for 2 months, he instructed Sri Sanatana Goswami in the transcendental science. So first he meets Rupa Goswami, then Sanatana Goswami. But here, Prabhupada has told about Sanatana Goswami, later Rupa Goswami. And he mentioned that I have already told about meeting of Sanatana Goswami. The instruction to Sanatana Goswami is in itself a long narration. Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think it's almost 4 chapters. 4 chapters are dedicated to teachings to Sanatana Goswami. And full presentation of the instruction will not be possible here. The main ideas are given as below. So what was the teaching of Lord Chaitanya, Sanatana Goswami? A brief summary Prabhupada is giving here. Sanatana Goswami, formerly known as Sathar Malik, was in the cabinet service of the Bengal government under the regime of Nawab Hussain Shah. So he was a minister. He decided to join with the Lord and thus retired from service. On his way back from Vrindavan, when he reached Varanasi, the Lord became the guest of Sri Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhara, assisted by a Maharashtra Brahmin. So there were 2 devotees who were living in Varanasi. They were Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhara. And also there was one Maharashtra Brahmana who was also a devotee. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in the house of these devotees, Mishra, Chandrasekhara, when he was in Varanasi. Because Varanasi is mostly filled with Mayavadis, impersonalist sannyasis. At that time, the leader of the Mayavadi sannyasi was Prakashananda Saraswati. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in Varanasi, and wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be there, he will always perform Sankirtana. And just by looking at him, people will start following him in large numbers, big crowd. Wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes, along with him, big crowd will go. People will just get attracted to him and they will just start following him. So people in general became more attracted to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on account of his mass Sankirtana movement. Wherever he visited, especially the Vishwanatha temple, thousands of pilgrims would follow him. So Kashi Vishwanatha Shiva temple and lot of thousands of pilgrims, they would just follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he would visit. Some were attracted by his bodily features, and others were attracted by his melodious songs, glorifying the Lord. Personally, also, he was very, very beautiful. So many people, they were just attracted looking at him. And others were attracted by his melodious songs. Thakur also has written one song, Gai Gaura Madhura Sware. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to sing very melodiously, glorifying Krishna. Hare Krishna. These Mayavadi sannyasis, they call themselves as Narayana. Everybody, all sannyasis, they address each other. We say Hare Krishna, no? They say Om Namo Narayana. He is also Narayana, he also say Om Namo Narayana. They are not offering obeisances to Supreme Lord Narayana. They tell you are Narayana, I am offering my obeisances. He also says you are Narayana, I am offering my obeisances. So Om Namo Narayana. Varanasi is still overflooded with many Mayavadi sannyasis. Some people who saw the Lord in his Sankirtana party considered him to be actually Narayana. And this report reached the camp of the great sannyasi Prakashananda. About Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these impersonalists, only in that circle, this will be there. Brahman, this, that. Common people, they don't know anything. Common people, they know Krishna is the Supreme Lord, or Narayana is the Supreme Lord, Vishnu is the Supreme Lord. Common people, you know. But the sannyasis, they think that I am myself Narayana. So when common people, they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtana, some of them, they thought that actually Narayana has come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some of them thought that actually he is Narayana. And when all these people are talking about this, when sannyasi has come, doing Sankirtana, oh, he is actually Narayana. And all this news reached to this Prakashananda Saraswati, who was the leader of the Mayavadis at that time. Always there is a rivalry between Mayavada and Bhagavata schools. And when Prakashananda Saraswati, he heard about this, and he also knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Vaishnava sannyasi. Sannyasa is accepted not only in the Mayavadi school, but also in Vaishnava school also. So he knew that he is a Vaishnava sannyasi. So therefore, he minimized the value of the Lord before those who brought him the news. So he didn't give much value to that, what they are saying. And he deprecated the activities of the Lord because of his preaching the Sankirtana movement, which was, in his opinion, nothing but some religious sentiment. So he said, oh, it's all just some sentiments. People are chanting and dancing. You don't take it very seriously. So like that, he minimizes the Lord's position and his Sankirtana movement when somebody brings in the news. This Prakashananda was a profound student of Vedanta, and he advised his followers to give attention to Vedanta and not to indulge in Sankirtana. So he said, you just sit and read Vedanta, continue what you are doing. Don't go and join Sankirtana. So he advises all his other sannyasis and followers. One devotee Brahmana who became a devotee of the Lord did not like the criticism of Prakashananda. One Brahmana who had become Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotee, when Prakashananda criticized, so he felt very bad about it. And he went to the Lord and expressed his regret. So he goes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and expresses that all these people they are criticizing. He told the Lord that when he uttered the Lord's name before the sannyasi Prakashananda, the latter strongly criticized the Lord. Although the Brahmana heard Prakashananda uttering several times the name Chaitanya, the Brahmana was astonished to see that the sannyasi Prakashananda would not vibrate the sound Krishna even once, although he uttered the name Chaitanya several times. So he never once took the name of Krishna. So he tells that he was surprised that even once Krishna's name did not come from his mouth. Although he said many times Chaitanya, 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 he said, but not for one time Krishna's word came from his mouth. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smilingly he explains that Mayavadis they cannot utter the name of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Mayavadi Krishnera Aparadhi. They are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna. So although they utter always Brahman, Atma or Chaitanya, they cannot utter Krishna's name because they are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna. They are actually unable to utter the holy name of Krishna. The name Krishna and the personality of God and Krishna are identical. There is no difference in the absolute realm between the name, form, or person of the absolute truth. Because in the absolute realm, everything is transcendental. This. There is no difference between the body and the soul of the personality of God and Krishna. Just like we have soul, we have body. So therefore, it's called duality. Duality means two. One is matter, another is spirit. So for Krishna, there is nothing like inside one soul is there, outside one body. His complete body itself is spirit. Thus, he is different from the living entity who is always different from his outward body. Because of Krishna's transcendental position, it is very difficult for a layman to actually know the personality of God and Krishna, his holy name and fame, etc. His name, fame, form, and pastimes are all one and the same transcendental identity. And they are not knowable by the exercise of material senses. So by material senses, we cannot appreciate Krishna's spiritual position. Which is said, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyai. Sevan mukhe jivado swayameva spuratyata. So when we become our attitude, devotional attitude, serving attitude, Sevan mukha, we start serving Krishna. By that attitude, one can realize Krishna, not by our gross senses. Ata Shri Krishna Namani na bhavet grahyam indriyai. By our gross senses, we cannot see or hear or touch Krishna. But when we develop attitude of service, Swayameva Spuratyata, then all the Krishna's name, Krishna's form, pastimes, they are revealed to the devotee. So this service attitude is very, very important. Always we should be seeking opportunity for rendering service. Some or the other service, we should always be thinking what service I can do, what service I can do, what service I can do. If that mentality is there, then our Krishna realization becomes easy and fast. If service attitude is not there, again, it will take long. Because ultimately, what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to do service only. Our natural position is to render service. If not serving Krishna, we'll be serving something else. We can never be free from service. It's not that if I'm not serving Krishna, I'm not serving anybody. Somebody I will be serving. At last, I'll be serving my own senses. If nobody I'm serving, I'll be serving my own senses, my own mind, my own desires. So this service cannot be avoided. If we engage in Krishna's service, then we can realize Krishna. So one should be hankering for serving Krishna. That is the only price. Tatra laulyam, ekalam laulyam. Janma koti supratibhir nasalam. So only by this hankering for doing Krishna's service, one can get Krishna. Otherwise, it is Janma Koti Sukriti Jirna Salapati. If you go on performing pious activities for Koti Janma, still one cannot attain Krishna. One has to develop this anchoring for Krishna's service. The transcendental relationship of the pastimes of the Lord is the source of still more bliss than one can experience by realization of Brahman. So this Brahma Sukha that appears like very insignificant in front of the bliss derived by serving Krishna or by becoming one with the Supreme. So this Brahman realization means identifying oneself with the Supreme. So the Brahman realization, bliss experienced is very, very insignificant in front of realization of Krishna in different rasas, in different relationships, the transcendental relationships of the pastimes of the Lord. Is the source of still more bliss than Brahman. Had it not been so, then those who are already situated in the transcendental bliss of Brahman would not have been attracted by the transcendental bliss of the pastimes of the Lord. So for this, the best examples are the four Kumaras and Shukadeva Goswami himself, who were already on that platform of Brahman realization. But still, they were attracted by Krishna's activities, Krishna's pastimes. There are no examples of a devotee becoming an impersonalist. There are no examples. A devotee, he gave up devotional service and became an impersonalist. But there are examples of impersonalists who were there on the highest platform of that impersonal realization. They became devotees of Krishna. You will never see one pure devotee, he became an impersonalist. Because the bliss experienced in pure devotional service is far, far greater than this Brahman realization. So therefore, nobody leaves Krishna's service and goes away. Even if somebody leaves Krishna's service, very soon he comes back. Practicing devotees, sometimes they may fall down. The Bhagavatam it is described. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam dhare. Somebody gives up, their regular worldly life and surrender to Krishna. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam dhare. But bhajan apakvota patet tato yadi. But his bhajan was apakva, not fully matured, and the person falls down. What? So even if one falls down because of immaturity, it is said that there is no loss for that person compared to somebody who is doing all his worldly duties very nicely. Why it is said so? Smaran mukundamri upagumanam punar vihatu vichena rasam. So somebody who has taken up devotional service and due to whatever reason, if one falls down, he doesn't undergo material life like ordinary people. Very soon, he remembers his service to Krishna. Smaran mukunda angri rasam gumunam. So that rasa he remembers here, which is talked about the transcendental relationship of the pastimes of the Lord. So that exchange of rasa, what he has experienced with Krishna, he remembers that Smaran Mukundamri Upagupam, serving Krishna's lotus feet. He remembers, and very soon he comes back to a devotional service again. Pure devotees, they never fall down and become impersonalist. Practicing devotees, even if they give up devotional service, very soon they again come back to devotional service. Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita, Abhichet Suduracharo, even if a devotee is appear to be performing some abominable activities, still he should be considered as a devotee because he is on the right path. Very soon, Chipram Bhavati Dharmatma Shashvat Shanti Nirachit. Maunteya Pratijanihi Name Bhaktaha Panashya. Krishna has promised how devotees will become personalists, not possible. So once somebody has surrendered to Krishna, he will never go away from Krishna's service. Even if he goes away, very soon he will come back. That's why Narad Muni says, you directly tell everybody, surrender to Krishna. Vyasadeva, Srimad Bhagavatam, before writing, that was his, because he had written a long process. Follow this, follow this, follow this, follow this. He had not exclusively told that you have to surrender to Krishna. Narad Muni says, you directly tell everybody that you have to surrender to Krishna. So sometimes people will surrender and then they will fall and go. It doesn't matter. Again, they will come to Krishna. So after that, this Brahmana comes and speaks, and then a meeting was arranged. So this Brahmana, some other Brahmana invites all the sannyasis to his house for sadhana. So that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also he invites. So that's how they could meet, this Prakasham and Saraswati and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could meet in one place. In this meeting, both the scholars, the Lord and Prakashananda, had a long discourse on the spiritual values of Sankirtana movement, and a summary is given below. So they had a discussion, and it is similar to what he had with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, because he was also impersonalist. And here there is a specific, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's behavior with him, because he asked him, this Prakashananda Saraswati, that a sannyasi is supposed to study Vedanta. So why are you chanting and dancing like this with sentimentalist? So for that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies that Guru More Murkhate ki Korelachnas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that my spiritual master found me to be a grateful. You are grateful. And Vedanta, it is not your cup of tea. You cannot understand Vedanta. You simply chant this mantra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually wanted to teach that in Kali Yuga, nobody can understand this Vedanta and all. And ultimately, after Vedanta, one has to come to chanting Hare Krishna. I have taken to the Sankirtan movement instead of study of Vedanta because I am grateful. The Lord thus represented himself as one of the numberless fools of this age. So he represented numberless fools of this age who are incapable, absolutely incapable of studying the Vedanta philosophy. The fools indulge in the study of Vedanta has caused so much havoc in society. So fools are studying Vedanta, and it has caused so much of havoc in the society. They are fools, and they are studying Vedanta, and they are giving all foolish interpretations, and other fools are following. And it has created such a havoc in the society. The Lord thus continued, and because I am a great fool, my spiritual master forbade me to play with Vedanta philosophy. He said that it is better that I chant the holy name of the Lord, for that would deliver me from material bondage. In this age of Kali, there is no other religion but the glorification of the Lord by utterance of His holy name. And that is the injunction of all the revealed scriptures. And my spiritual master has taught me one shloka from the Brahannardya Purana, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Iva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranya. So when he says like this, so on the order of my spiritual master, I chant the holy name of Hari. So I have been ordered by my guru, and I'm following his order, and I'm just chanting. And I'm now mad after this holy name. Whenever I utter the holy name, I forget myself completely. And sometimes I laugh, cry, and dance like a madman. I thought that I had actually gone mad by this process of chanting. And therefore, I asked my spiritual master about it. So he goes and tells his spiritual master, oh, by chanting, I think I have become mad. Sometimes I'm laughing, sometimes I'm crying, sometimes I'm dancing like a madman. Looks like by this mantra I have become mad. He goes and tells his spiritual master. And his spiritual master informed him that this was the real effect of chanting the holy name. This is the actual effect of chanting the holy name, which produces a transcendental emotion that is a rare manifestation. It is a sign of love of God, which is the ultimate end of life. Love of God is transcendental to liberation. It's even higher than liberation. And thus it is called the fifth stage of spiritual realization, above the stage of liberation. By chanting the holy name of Krishna, one attains the state of love of God. And it was good that fortunately I was favored with the blessing. So his spiritual master tells that you are very fortunate that you have developed love of Krishna by chanting his names. On hearing this, the Mayavadi sannyasi asked the Lord that what is the harm in studying the Vedanta along with chanting the holy names? Okay, you chant, you study Vedanta also. Why you are not studying Vedanta? So why he was asking that? Because he knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is a great Pandit. He was known as Nimai Pandit before taking sannyas. It is not that he is fool. It is not that he is a fool, he cannot understand Vedanta, therefore he is not studying. So therefore he says, what is harm in studying Vedanta? Chant Hare Krishna also, but study Vedanta. Vedanta is also important. That is also required. So his posing as a great fool was certainly some purpose. Some purpose is that that's why he's telling that he's a great fool. So he asked him that question. Hearing this inquiry by the sannyasi, the Lord smiled and said, my dear sir, if you do not mind, I will answer your inquiry. All the sannyasis there were very much pleased with the Lord for his honest dealings. And they unanimously replied that they would not be offended by whatever he replied. The Lord then spoke as follows. Vedanta Sutra consists of transcendental words or sounds uttered by the transcendent personality of Godhead. As such, in the Vedanta, there cannot be any human deficiencies like mistake, illusion, cheating, or insufficiency. The message of the Upanishads is expressed in the Vedanta Sutra, and what is said there directly is certainly glorified. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Vedanta, that is uttered by the Supreme Lord Himself. So, there cannot be any deficiency in the Vedanta. Deficiencies are like four defects: making mistakes, illusion, cheating, insufficiency, Brahma, Pramada, Karna, Pandava, Vipralipsa. These are the four defects of a conditioned soul. So in Vedic literature, which are compiled by Krishna himself, Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta Krit, Vedavid Evachana, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, Krishna says. Vedanta Krit, I am the compiler of the Vedanta in the form of Vyasadeva. So there cannot be any mistake, illusion, cheating, or insufficiency. In Upanishads, the message of Upanishads is expressed in the Vedantas. But interpretations given by Shankaracharya, they have no direct bearing on the Sutra. Shankaracharya, he has given indirect meaning to the Vedanta Sutra. He has not given the direct, he has manufactured his own meanings of the sutras. The word Brahman indicates the greatest of all, which is full with transcendental opulences, superior to all. Brahman is ultimately the personality of Godhead. And he is covered by indirect interpretations and established as impersonal. So what really given in the Vedanta Sutra by indirect interpretation, the form of the Lord is covered and made to appear like impersonal by Shankaracharya. The Shankaracharya has given indirect meaning to the sutras and he's covering the real form of the Lord and making it appear that Brahman is impersonal. Everything that is in the spiritual world is full of transcendental bliss, including the form, body, place, and paraphernalia of the Lord. All are eternally cognizant and blissful. It is not the fault of Acharya Shankara that he has so interpreted Vedanta. But if someone accepts it, then certainly he is doomed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Acharyera dosha nahi. It is not the fault of Shankaracharya. That reference is given from Padma Purana, where Lord Shiva says, Mayavadam Ashat Shastram Prachannam Bauddham. So I am going to teach this Mayavada philosophy. Shankaracharya's philosophy is Mayavada philosophy. So I am going to speak this Mayavada, which is almost like Buddhism, covered Buddhism. So if somebody accepts this Shankara philosophy, he is doomed. Mayavadi Bhashya Sunile Haya Sarvanash. The Lord thus spoke to the sannyasis almost in the same way as he spoke to Bhattacharya and Puri. And by forceful arguments, he nullified the Mayavada interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra. All the sannyasis there claimed that the Lord was the personified Vedas, the personality of God. All the sannyasis were converted to the cult of Bhakti. And all of them accepted the holy name of Lord Sri Krishna and they dined together with the Lord in the midst of them. After this conversation, the sannyasis, the popularity of the Lord increased in Varanasi. And thousands of people assembled to see the Lord in person. The Lord thus established the primary importance of Srimad Bhagavata Dharma. And he defeated all other systems of spiritual realization. Since then, everyone at Varanasi was overwhelmed with the transcendental Sankirtana movement. So when he was there at Varanasi, Sanatana Goswami comes, as we have discussed. He had some difficulty coming and finally he reaches there. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches him the constitutional position of the living being, the cause of his bondage, eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. About the living entity Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks, and what is the position of Krishna and his different incarnations, and how he controls the different parts of the universe, nature of the spiritual world, devotional activities, different stages of development of devotional activities, and what rules and regulations to be followed for achieving these gradual stages of spiritual perfection, and symptoms of different incarnations in different ages, how to detect them with reference to the context of revealed scriptures. All these things Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches Sanatana Goswami. That is again a big chapter, and that is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita or in teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was at Mathura, he visited many places. Then he comes to Prayag. So this is reverse going again back. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there. Then he comes to Mathura, Mathura to Prayagraj. There he meets Rupa Goswami. Then he goes to Varanasi. There he meets Sanatana Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami is already covered. Now Prabhupada is talking about Rupa Goswami, whom he had met earlier before coming to Varanasi. So about Vrindavan also, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited, little description is there about that. Where all Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited. '93. 6 slides, 6 more slides. We will try to cover it. So one final Rupa Goswami is there. After that it is Madhya Leela. Completed summary. Some different places visited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is there. He also meets while coming some Pathans. And he preaches to them, and they also become devotees. And later on, they were known as Pathan Vaishnavas. They become followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and their further followers, they are known as Pathan Vaishnavas. So he meets Rupa Goswami in Prayagraj. That time he was staying with one Vallabha Bhatta. So Vallabha Bhatta is Vallabhacharya of Srinathji Sampradaya. So he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying with him for some time. Okay, so teaching to Rupa Goswami. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave instructions to Rupa Goswami. 10 days, 10 days at a place known as Dashashvamedha Ghat. And there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching to Rupa Goswami is summarized as below. He taught about divisions of living creatures, 84 lakh species. And among all the species, how humans' life is important. And even among the human species, very few numbers, they follow the Vedic principles. Not everybody is the follower of the Vedas. And among the follower of the Vedas, majority are fruity workers. So they are just follow some kind of rituals so that they may get some benefit out of it. Fruity workers, karma kanda. And out of millions of fruity workers, only few are empiric philosophers or gyanis. And out of many gyanis, actually few are liberated. Only few of them are actually liberated. And there are only a few who are actually pure devotees of Lord. Koti karmi madhye eka jnani shreshta. Koti karmis, there is one jnani. And among koti jnanis, one is actually mukta, actually liberated. And the pure devotees are even rare than this. Srila Rupa Goswami was the younger brother of Sanatana Goswami when he retired. So when he retired, he took all his wealth and he divided it into two parts, 50%. He gave it for Brahmanas, charity he gave for spreading Krishna consciousness. Remaining 50, again he divided it into 25 and 25. 25% he kept for personal emergency and 25% he gave for his relatives. Then he leaves everything. All money he distributed and he travels to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he meets him here in Prayagraj. That description is there. So that is the ideal example for the householder for spending their income for Krishna consciousness set by Rupa Goswami. And to Rupa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches him about the science of bhakti. And we have discussed this mad elephant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches him about Bhakti Lata Bija, Brahmanda Bhramite, Puno Bhagyavanachini, Guru Krishna Kripaye Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. So that topics he teaches to Goswami, that how one gets this Bhakti Lata Bija and Mali Hayya Kare Aropana. So one should become like a gardener and cultivate this creeper of Bhakti by Shravana Kirtana Jale, by hearing and chanting. That is like a watering the seed. Then the seed will start fructifying. Then one has to guard it against the anarthas, weeds, guard it against the weeds, 6 kinds of weeds. Generally, when we are cultivating, there will be weeds because the soil already has all other seeds. Apart from this Bhakti-Lata Bija, so many other seeds are also there. So when we water with nice chanting and hearing, sometimes other things also start growing. That is Puja, Pratishtha, Labha, Putinati, Jivanamsa, Nishintachara, 6 kinds of weeds. So one should be careful that one has to take out these weeds. Otherwise, what will happen? They will grow faster than the real bhakti, and it will choke the Bhakti Lata from growing. So all these instructions Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives, desires for sense enjoyment. While doing devotional service, all these things may happen. One may again develop a desire for sense enjoyment, or one may aspire for liberation, or one may aspire for some kind of material perfection, siddhis. All these chances are there. So one should safeguard the creeper of bhakti from all these things. And these 6 violence against other living beings, desire for worldly gain and worldly reception and reputation and fame, desiring fame within the devotee community. So all these are different weeds. Puja, Pratishtha, desiring some kind of, people should give me honor, people should glorify me, people should give me respect. So these are called Puja, Pratishtha, Labha. So even when doing devotional service, looking for something for me, what is there is for me. And not following the rules and regulations, duplicities, behavior, inside something, outside something. So all these are weeds which may grow even when we are following devotional service. So one has to be careful and remove these weeds. And all these are detrimental to the progress of bhakti. And pure devotional service must be freed from all desires for sense gratification, karma and jnana karma, dhyanamritam, and all designations. And when one is thus converted to transcendental purity, one can then serve the Lord by purified senses. Only then one is eligible to serve Krishna. So as long as there is desire to enjoy sensually, to become one with the Supreme, or to possess mystic power. So all these things are karmic, jnani and yogi. They have this kind of desires, sense enjoyment, becoming one with the Lord or mystic powers. There is no question of attaining the stage of pure devotional service. So these desires are there, one cannot attain pure devotional service. And devotional service is divided into 2 categories, sadhana bhakti and Radhanuga Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti is the practice of devotional service, and by practice, one develops spontaneous attraction for serving Krishna. That is called Radhanuga Bhakti, or spontaneous emotions. And when one can rise to the platform of spontaneous emotion, he can make further progress by spiritual attachment, feeling, and love. That is the 9 stages of development of bhakti. Asakti, Ruchi, Bhava, and Prema. So all these things Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches Rupa Goswami. So all those things Rupa Goswami has summarized in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught, he summarizes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Rupa Goswami, I have given you this. Now you write this in the form of books. That's how they compiled all the literatures. And he also teaches him many higher stages of devotional life for which there are no English words. We have tried to explain the science of devotional service in our book, The Nectar of Devotion. Just like Prabhupada says, rasa, there is no equivalent word in English for this rasa. Now, some nearby word is like mellow. Something nearby is used while translating. So like that, so many things are there for which there are no words in English to describe. Based on the authority of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. So those things are explained in Nectar of Devotion, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. And also the 5 stages of devotional service, that is Dasya Rasa, Shanta Rasa, Sankhya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about these things also. Then he sends him to Vrindavan to excavate the lost sites of pastimes of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them 2 tasks. One is excavate the places of pastime, and another is write the literature. These were the 2 services given to the Goswamis by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he returns. On the way, he meets Varanasi, then Sanatana Goswami, and then he comes back to Puri. And then he stays rest of 18 years. The Lord left only 8 shlokas of instruction in writing, and they are known as Shikshashtaka. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he was personally a great scholar, but personally he did not write anything. Only thing which is available as his writing, that also he has not written, is recorded by others, and Shikshashtaka. That is the 8 prayers offered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as known as the Shikshashtaka. These are the only 8 things. All other literatures of his divine cult were extensively written by the Lord's principal followers, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and further their followers. The cult of Chaitanya philosophy is richer than any other, and it is admitted to be the living religion of the day. The Krishna consciousness is the living religion with the potency for spreading as Vishwa Dharma or universal religion. Krishna consciousness has the potency to spread as Vishwa Dharma, and it has happened at the present moment. All over the world, like Prabhupada is preaching everywhere, all parts of the world, different countries, they are already following Krishna consciousness. We are glad that the matter has been taken up by some enthusiastic sages like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj and his disciples. Prabhupada is giving credit to the spiritual master. We shall eagerly await for the happy days of Bhagavad Dharma or Prema Dharma, inaugurated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Vishnu Krishna Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande. We took little extra time, so wanted to complete it today. We'll do Guru Puja now. Vishnu Prabhupada ki. Thank you, devotees who have joined us online. So we have a Guru Puja now. After that, Guru Puja session.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.